All right, yep. Can we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Sorry for the delay. We are working to move the format of our meetings as much as possible back to how they were before the pandemic began, and going to be having our workshop meetings upstairs during our regular meeting nights. So we're getting used to that again. So we appreciate your patience with that. But it's so nice to see so many people here in the room tonight, to have students back here in the auditorium after all this time. It's just really such a good feeling. It has been much missed. We've been all home. We've been talking to empty rooms. So this is really special to have everyone here with us tonight. So we will move into the meeting. I will turn things over to Dr. Stefankowitz.
All right, well, thank you.
Actually, let me do
Nope,
student
sorry.
representatives report. I'm sorry. First, let's go to our student representatives if they're here with us. Is Rio Jones or Sage Richard either in the room? I don't see them here. Ms. Conway, are they in the Zoom? Rio?
I don't see either of their names, no.
All right, if you can keep an eye out for them, and we can always go back to that later if they join us, and we'll go on to Dr. Stefankowitz for now.
Great, thank you. So,
Very
we're,
good.
so as Ms. Fuller said, we are so excited for the first time in probably about 19 or 20 months now to actually have live and in-person students back with us. Hi, that we can honor for outstanding work, and their parents. So welcome, and it's great. And so we're going to talk. These folks are folks who placed in the competition, the Steam Tank competition. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the 2021 National School Boards Association U.S. Army Virtual. Kind of ironic that it was virtual when we're doing this, but that's okay. The Army Virtual Steam Tank Competition. You folks, if you've gone down to School Boards Association, you've seen our students participating live before, and the award ceremony was virtual, and some of you may have been able to see that. But Steam Tank, which of course, pertains to science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, provides New Jersey students a platform to experience real world problem solving, allows them to think like entrepreneurs and design and create whatever they can dream using the fields of, as I said, science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. In Steam Tank, students create innovative projects or products and solutions to problems which they enter into competition. Last spring, the Steam Tank competition was held virtually. We had 8 teams, a total of 24 students reach the finals, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the most we ever had reached the finals, right? Which was fantastic. And last school year, 5 of the students were in 8th grade, 2 were in 6th, and 17 of the students were in 4th grade.
Wow.
At the time, which was great. So 2 4th grade groups, the young ones pulling their weight. It's a good thing. Showing the older kids how to get it done. 2 4th grade groups finished in the top 3 rankings in their areas. So all of the students of those 2 groups, even though in all of those 8 groups that participated in the finals from multiple schools, the 2 final groups came from Anamosa Elementary School. So we applaud them. So tonight we're going to focus, and we really applaud all of those 24 students who are involved in the finals. But for these purposes, we brought in the students who placed. And so we're very excited about that. Also, we want to acknowledge without the help of the adults to help them. Some of this would not have been possible. So Mr. O'Neill, the supervisor, the then supervisor of educational technology and innovation, K-12, Mr. Houston, who is the media specialist at the intermediate school, Ms. Sane, who's the technology makerspace teacher over at the intermediate school, and of course the 4th grade teachers at the various schools who helped make this all possible and help guide and supervise and inspire our students with their great ideas. So without any further ado, we have two groups. And I think mostly everyone is here this evening. So, and we have wonderful certificates, fun little certificates that we have for you. And what we'd like you to do is, as you come up, if you can come up and go in front of our, what I like to call a tarp over there. And it's a step, yeah, that thing. And we're going to take a nice little picture. And it's an opportunity for the parents to take some pictures as well. And, if the principal or if our tech folks want to go up as well, that would be fantastic. So a team that finished in third place was Ashlyn Farley and Angel Agrida Rojas. Are you guys here? Let me do this. So I'm going to, we're going to get all of you up at one time. Is that okay? So we're going to do that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Just if you guys can go over there, and we're going to be joined by your fellow students in just a moment. And then the second place winners, we have Miles Werner. Miles. Polanski. And Parker Lushon, who could not be with us, but is with us in technological spirit. So we're going to congratulate those folks, and we are going to take pictures here in the board office of students for the first time in a very long time. So you guys check this a little bit better.
It's exciting.
It is.
Oh, it's Parker.
My smile. I can see your smile really.
He is on.
Outstanding.
Miss Conway, can you pull Marlena Bushine in and see if Parker comes on the screen? Because Marlena's, his mother's on, so they might be. We can wave to him. She should be able to.
Mr. Mono, can I ask you-
I did, but they don't, I promoted them.
Oh, there's Parker. Yay, Parker. Woo! Thank you. I looked at the attendees. I knew his mother would be here.
That was great.
Parker, I'll take your picture. Hold on.
All right.
Smile, Parker.
Zoom picture. Parker's picture.
I got his picture. There you go. Good job, buddy.
Thank
Congratulations, everyone.
Hello, Ms. Lucia.
Congrats.
All right, congratulations. Wonderful, absolutely fantastic. We are so thrilled that you guys are the first back and the first to be welcomed live and in person. And we're so excited to have you. And we're so proud of your accomplishment. And we look forward to more great things from you as you move forward in competition. Are you all going to compete this year?
Of course you are.
If you don't, I want my certificate back. So no, we look forward to it. It should be great. So I'm sure you have, now you're very all welcome to stay. But this would be a great time if you have homework and stuff to do to make an exit if you wish to do that. So it's certainly up to you. It's your decision. And we appreciate you coming. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Too excited.
Other items?
Yes.
Thank you all.
All right, good night. Thank you all. So just a few other items this evening, and then we have a little presentation on our American Recovery Plan. So very quickly, so we had last night, Mr. Amato. Can you give this to Parker tomorrow, Mr. Amato? Thank you. Speaking of Mr. Amato hosted last evening the social media presentation at the intermediate school, and it was virtual. We had about 120 people virtual and about 30 or so, 25, 30 people in person. Nikki Francis did an outstanding job, and in the day, she did a program for the students, correct, for the middle school students. And we've talked about ways to maybe getting her to some of the other students as well, and perhaps that's something we can do over the course of the school year. But, I think a number of you, I think were on there last evening. I think it was very positive, and she does a great job. And I think it was very eye-opening for a lot of parents to see some of the things that she spoke about. Our vaccination, well, no, let me rephrase that. The vaccination clinic from the Monmouth County Regional Health Commission, hosted by our school district as a venue, is coming up this Thursday night. And it's over at the high school in the cafeteria. While all folks are welcome, the focus here are the 5 to 11-year-olds. That's sort of the motivation behind it. Obviously, a parent needs to be present. There was a little bit of a glitch over the weekend with their website in terms of making appointments. It was saying all the appointments were taken up. We got to them on Monday. They seemed to fix that. We resent everything out. Appointments were available. So, it's my understanding that they will take walk-ups, but they want you to register because obviously that will expedite the process and they know what to expect. So that's Thursday night. We should be excited for that. And then it'll be 3 weeks from that time, December 9th, which is 3 weeks where the second shots will be scheduled for people and other people's first shots as well. But that's coming up.
Do you
Question
know
on it?
on that, so they're going to have the kids doses, will they have adult doses?
It's
as
my,
well?
yes, yes. When you sign up, there's all three shots. There's, the Moderna, the Pfizer and the J&J, and then the 5 to 11 shots as well.
Got it.
Of course,
Thank
that's Pfizer only. So excited about that. One thing I did get contacted just to more to come on this, but I did get contacted by the Ocean Township Police. They do think they have a Class 3 officer candidate that we hope to bring an additional person on board with the start of the new calendar year. And the idea would be to have that person strictly at Wayside Elementary School as the largest of the 3 elementary schools. And then the person that's been moving between the 3 elementary schools would now be moving between 2 elementary schools. So one be shared between Dow Avenue and Wanamassa, and there would be one specific at Wayside. Keep you updated on that as we move forward. And the after-school programs, just an update on those, going very well. Just meeting with the elementary principals today. They're really very happy with how things are going. We have about same number of students we had reported on. We had about 50 students that were at Dow Avenue and Wanamassa. We had about 65, I think 70 or so at Wayside. The intermediate school program is starting on the 29th, correct, Mr. Amato? And we have about, how many kids do we have signed up for that right now?
We'll have over 100.
We'll have over 100,
We'll have over 100.
which is great. So about 100 kids there. We are still working on the high school program. The staffing at the high school is still presenting a little bit of a challenge. So we'll keep working on that and get that program going as soon as we possibly can. Questions on any of those things at this point? On the board? Good. All right, Marianne, can you put up the ARP presentation, please?
Do you see it, Dr. Spankowitz?
Yes, we do. Okay, so thank you. So as part of the American Rescue Plan, otherwise known affectionately as ESSER 3, this is the 3rd series of federal monies that have been provided to local school districts through the states. ESSER 1, I guess, really kind of came out at the beginning of the pandemic. ESSER 2 came out in the spring, and now ESSER 3. And our school district spending this time talking about what we believe we'd like to allocate those funds for. I also just want to say that, over the course, this is a 3-year process. So over the course of that, it's always a little hard to plan, completely for 3 years out. So if things need to be adjusted and changed, we have the ability to do that. But this is our thought process, and this is where we are. And of course, we're happy to take any questions on that. So if Marianne, you can move to the next slide. So the purpose of ESSER 3 was to support students, educators, and schools as they safely return to in-person learning while addressing the academic, social, emotional, and mental health impacts of COVID. So these monies really need to be utilized on, COVID related outcomes, whether they be facility-based or anything related to learning that may have been lost, or any learning acceleration as a result of the pandemic. Next slide, Mary. All right, so these are the district allocations, the different parts of the ARP. It's a total of $3.7 million. In the ESSER part of it, it's 3.3 million, and I'll go into more detail in a moment. Then there's accelerated learning coaching, 284,000, summer learning and enrichment, 40, after school programs, 40, and mental health supports, 45. Now, these are all in addition to what we talked about in the spring. If you remember, there was 45,000 for mental health then. This is an additional amount of money. So $3.7 million, so very nice allocation there. Next slide. All right, so the ESSER part is broken down. 20% of that 3.2 million or 3.3 million needs to be applied to basically something related to teaching and learning, whether it be learning loss, learning acceleration, assisting with closing gaps with specific populations like minority populations, ELL populations, special education populations. So 20% of the 3.3 million has to be applied there. That is a lovely non-evil amount of $666,000. So we're a little afraid of that to some degree, but we'll go from there. But 2.6 million can be allotted to other areas. So within that, and we've discussed this when we discussed the ESSER 2 grant, that we really, and we're going to utilize John Bosman's, our facilities manager or supervisor, because you've come tonight, John. So, we asked John to come because we wanted to talk about, because obviously $2.64 million is a big chunk of change to apply towards a particular project. And we've applied about initially 800,000 in ESSER 2 to this project as well. And this will enable us to apply a little bit more than that from ESSER 2. But the HVAC systems and the window wall units, which are, I'll have maybe John explain what the window walls are. But that project, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade wing at TOIS are really the last places in the district that do have older, now coming up on 50 years old, HVAC units. And the rest of the district has pretty much been replaced with newer units. If you remember last summer, there was a lot of discussion about MERV filters and MERV 7s and MERV 8s and MERV 13s and what have you. And the many of the 6th and 7th and 8th grade units, as we discussed at that time, while they can fit the MERV 8s, which is sort of the minimum requirement, cannot fit the MERV 13 filters. And that, that obviously MERV 13 filters will filter out more pollutants and create better ventilation in the schools. That's not to say that the ventilation there now is bad. It can just be better than what we currently have. And the Board of Education members, certainly who've been here for a little bit, know that air quality at the intermediate school, dating back probably 20 years now, has been a issue, yes, and a constant topic of discussion. So we really feel this with a one-time, what you want to try to do with grant monies when you're getting a one-time influx of money is not use it for things, or try to minimize using it for things that are going to be lasting, because the money runs out. And then those things that are lasting have to continue to be funded. So that's why you want to try to use, it's been our philosophy to try to use grant funds on things that we can do, and then will not necessarily be continuation of cost beyond the time of the grant. For ESSER 3, we have till June of 2024 to spend this money. So it's a 3-year period of time. So that's why we think that utilizing this 2.64 million, along with, so let me touch on the 666,000 there. So if you recall, when we talked about ESSER 2 back in the spring, we had originally our equity coaches were in the regular budget. The board approved the regular budget for equity coaches last year for this, putting them in the actual budget. We did decide that at that point, we were going to maybe put them into the grant. We'd also, now we'd like to move them from ESER 2 to ESER 3, because one, it's a longer period of time. And what that will also do is free up more money in ESER 2, because there are fewer restrictions in ESER 2 as to what we can use the money for, that will apply more money to the HVAC project. So that'll bring up the HVAC project to about $1 million out of ESER 2, give or take, and now 2.64 million. We will still have to use some capital, some local funds to make up the difference. Unfortunately, similar to other grants we've talked about and other projects we've talked about, what was originally back in the spring about a $4 million project has gotten to about a $4.8 million project, just because of supply chain, because of, a variety of things that have just raised prices right now. But, I asked John, and we asked, Tina asked John to come, John Bosman Senior, everyone, our facilities manager and supervisor. John, can you talk a little bit about, the conditions? I mean, obviously, in your expert opinion, this is a good way for us to go, or?
Yes. Start out with the curtain wall system. This is original to the building. There's no R value in this system. When they built this school back in 1975, they didn't consider any energy savings. The window wall system is just a metal panel. It's like having a piece of plywood on the side of the building. So we get a lot of air infiltration through that part of it. The windows were all single pane windows. No screens, that's another problem there. Everybody wants to open the windows now. There's no screens. It's never built with screens. So that's a problem. The seals, everything's just worn out. We have a lot of water infiltration through these metal panels, which is getting into the building, causing other problems. The HVAC system, the units are original to the building. They have had minor upgrades over the years, new motors, squirrel cages, fan motors, things like that. The coils, we've had problems over the years because the dampers are all worn out. That in real cold weather, we have freeze ups. We've had a lot of problems with them in the last couple of years, and it's a real challenge for us to repair these things due to the age. So, and the other main thing was the MERV 13s. As you know, we had to buy a lot of portable air purifiers for all the classrooms. So now that's another, layer of maintenance, changing filters and then maintaining them. So it's definitely long overdue to have this.
This is something that we, talked about addressing when we did the referendum back in 2014, but obviously, that would have added several more millions of dollars to the project, which perhaps, in hindsight may have been worth it at the time, but, we didn't do that at that time, but it has to be done. So we really feel this is a prudent use of those funds. And, like I said, and because this is going to have to be done anyway, by using the grant funds, money that we would have allotted to this in the budgets over the next so many years will, of course, be able to be utilized for other things, right? So it's, I know in many ways it looks like, okay, we're spending 3.3 million, but that will, it's not going to free up 3.3 million in the budget, certainly, but it will free up some monies that we would normally have to be spending anyway. Utilizing, moving into capital reserve, any local funds that we would apply toward this project.
So what would the timeline be for next steps?
The next steps on this is, we met with the architect today. We're gonna have to go out, RFP. We scrubbed the numbers. We got, it was 4.2, it's like $4.9 million now. And we're gonna have to go out to RFP, but we would like to begin the work in the summer.
Yeah.
And what's the time? We can complete it over the summer? Or
I
is there enough?
I think it's a
So we
really
can
big
disrupt
project
the-
and it depends on how quickly we get in the
Right,
supplies.
so the sooner the better,
Yeah.
so that, because. it's-
Correct.
Correct.
I mean, it does seem like a positive coming out of a negative situation, right?
Mhm.
We wish we're in this, but it's providing us with the resources to do something the district's been talking about for a very long time.
Correct.
Mr. Bosman, that amount, do you think that's enough to cover what you discussed, the single pane windows, the screens?
For this part of the curtain wall system, yes, we ran the numbers with the architect. This will cover. There are other areas of the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that, are gonna need glazing. There are other single pane areas, but they're not in conjunction with the HVAC system. They're not tied into that. So that's something that, we
Do
can
the extra.
budget down the road, to do a little bit more, at a time. But the HVAC with these bump outs, if you look at the building, you'll notice the areas that, the classrooms jut out.
Right,
That's what we're talking about.
okay.
And that's all tied in with the HVACs and all the classrooms.
And what about for the admin building? Nothing in the pipeline for that with these
Well, we
funds?
budgeted.
Right
we
now, what we're
budgeted
doing
in the-
is the 30,000, there's $30,000 in there to do the lift.
For air quality here?
No. This is what we're doing in the admin building right now is the lift to make it ADA compliant so that they can come. And we're trying to prioritize getting a bathroom in here on this floor.
On this floor,
Correct.
but nothing for air
Nothing, no.
quality?
No,
No.
this building really, this is where we need the architect. John and I had a conversation today. We really need them to take a look at all of the buildings, because to your point, what we're covering is a certain section. There's
Mhm.
still single pane windows that need to be replaced in other areas, in like classrooms.
Mhm.
But that's gonna be part of normal ongoing maintenance. I mean, not part of this project.
Okay.
So, these are things, once we start to put together our strategic
You come to the
plan
microphone.
over the planning cycle of the budget and
can't hear
forward,
you.
we're gonna have to prioritize.
Include some of this.
Yeah.
They can't hear you. They can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Right. So,
Mr. Weinstein.
Well, so we're not concerned about the amount of time we'll be okay spending the money before the time runs out, right?
Right,
Okay.
yes.
Was there any other project that came in a close second to this or
in
something else?
terms of facilities?
Yeah, in terms of facilities or something else you're considering?
Not really. I mean, in terms of facilities, this was the, I think, the main project that really jumped out. That, even going back to Mr. Janero, when he was here back in the spring, it was really, that was really the main focus. Why? I mean, we did recently go through a very, $29 million referendum. So much of this work was done in the rest of the buildings. This is just an opportunity to do a good chunk of this work. And remember, the main part of the main reasons we're getting these funds is to address health and safety. And when it comes to air quality and ventilation, that's a major part of it.
No, I think that's great.
I think, Mr. Amato can attest to every year. And look, we do air quality, tests every year and they come back good.
Everything's good.
But at the same time, we would not be, I think, being honest with ourselves if over the years, we haven't dealt with a variety of issues and heard of concerns related to air quality at the intermediate school. So, I think for the long-term health and safety of the staff and the students, this is really a very good way to go.
Great.
Yeah, it seems like time is of the essence.
Absolutely.
So continuing on, so the 666,000, thank you, Mr. Boswell. What we'd like to do is move the equity coaches, the SEL coach from ESER 2 into ESER 3. Those aren't new positions. That's just a shifting into this grant from the other, freeing up some other monies in that grant. But what that also does is because this grant goes 1 year more, it helps us fund that position for another year through the grant, which is a good thing. Next slide. Marianne. Okay, so we also received 284,000 for accelerated learning coaching, which really is very similar to the SEL and equity coaches. But what we'd like to do with our ever-growing population of English language learners, we would like to bring in a coach, really like what we're calling an ELL coach. We just like coaches. And we do see a lot of advantages and we see a lot of very positive impacts, not only for staff, but for students when we have that job embedded coaching that goes on. So once again, this is an individual who would be a staff member who would go in and work with teachers because our ELL students are not specific to ELL classes. They are integrated across the board in all classes throughout the school district in every school. And all teachers need skill set to be able to work with English language learners, and that this person would assist in doing that. So
Can we
that,
pause for 1 second?
Yep.
Ms. Hayes, you have a question?
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually just typing. Can you guys hear me? Because I guess I'm also under Amy's name, so I apologize.
It's your
I mean, I
picture,
have questions.
so we can see you. Thank you.
You can see me?
It's your picture and Amy's name, so thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I have HVAC questions, so I mean, I can wait till the end, but
Well, why don't I go through it and then why don't, we can do that. That's fine. Why don't we wait, Ms. Hayes, and then we can bring John back up to the microphone.
Perfect.
Okay,
great.
so ELL coach, with that, with those funds, Mary Ann? Another 40,000 for summer programs, which we would use for summer programs. Just a thought. Next slide. And when I say that, looking obviously to do the best we can to replicate what we've done this last summer. It may not be exact in future summers, but it may not be too as large of a scale. Because remember, part of the idea here was because kids missed so much time last year with hybrid, with quarantines, what have you. Each summer will hopefully will be farther removed from that. But I think our program was so successful last year that we're going to try to replicate that moving forward as best we possibly can. Same thing with the after school programs. We're really, I think the days of just homework help are over. I think our students are really benefiting from, what we're doing right now, which is much more proactive teaching and learning going on in addition to assistance with homework. So once again, in future years, this may not be to the same degree and extent that we're doing it now, but certainly some more of what we're doing now in terms of the delivery of instruction and what happens compared to what questions do you have about your homework, which is much more of a reactionary, the teachers are just maybe primarily asking questions. There isn't that direct instruction necessarily. That's what we're doing now. And we see that moving forward. So that's the after school programs. And then lastly, with the 45,000, we've been talking with an organization called Kids, KYDS. We had them in last year to do a lot of work at the high school, working with students and staff. And they do a lot of work with restorative practices, which really helps to address, climate issues in the school and really helps to build relationships between staff and students within the school. So we've been talking with them through the Mental Health Association, Monmouth County. And, we really believe that they would be a great group to work with to in all of our schools, not just the high school, to help with developing better relationships and improving climate and creating more restorative practices in school. So Dawn, I think you're back. Yes, they're back there. You had them in last year. You did a lot of work with kids and staff. Do you mind just mentioning briefly?
Yeah, they've actually been working. We've worked with them for several years.
I'm sorry, do you mind coming up here? Yep, she's coming. Sorry.
Thank you. We can hear you, but they can't hear you.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So kids have actually been coming in and working with this high school for several years. Initially just some volunteer work with the classes. They were part of our Spark program. And then this last year, we had them in for some SEL for our kids and also for our staff. It was a beautiful program. Then they came in the summer as well to do our Spartans on the Rise program and also our Spartan Schools program. They came in and did a nice program for them one day. So just a great organization. It's local. They work with a lot of schools in the county and they really come highly recommended. And we've enjoyed working with them. So any questions? No.
No, thank you. Well,
I have a
maybe.
question.
Yeah, stay close.
Yeah, sure.
Ms. Tellerico, and then we'll go back to Ms. Hayes.
I was just wondering how many days or hours or, how many staff are coming for that 45,000?
We don't have those particulars yet. We're in conversations with the folks at Kids, and then there's just some work we still have to do with them to really get the scope of everything. But remember, we have 3 years to do this, so we're looking at developing a multi-year program. So, as we flesh that out a little bit more, we'll be able to answer that in greater detail.
Will that be presented to the board or to the wellness committee, just so that we have an idea of what it's?
Yeah, probably both.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Salrico. And then we'll go back to,
I just have a question.
I'm
for
sure,
Ms.
Ms.
Kazuba.
Kazuba, I'm sorry.
Is it still,
Sorry.
Michael and I
And your
believe
steps.
Rodney? Are
Yes.
they
Yes.
still? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And are they going to work with students and the staff?
That's what they did. That's what they've been doing with us.
Yeah, and that's what we would like them to do moving forward.
Just personally, they're phenomenal.
They're great.
Yeah, they
They're
do a
great.
great job.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Hayes.
I can't see the screen, so I apologize. Are you guys done with the slides or you want me to still wait?
No,
We're
that's,
done
that's
with
the
it.
last slide. Yep.
That's the last slide.
Okay, so, I mean, so the folks on the dais are aware that I'm not really thrilled with us spending $3 million on the middle school's HVAC. So I'm hearing tonight, time is of the essence. You know, we have to do things that are health and safety for our kids. And it sounds like we're being creative to kind of wiggle in HVAC to fit in with the health and safety of our kids' parameters of ESSER. My questions are, why aren't we looking at spending a lot more and increasing our academic performance and some ×3, ×6, what we're planning to do for the summer and the after school. And then whatever money we have left, like say we decide to do $1 million in academic improvements to better all the learning loss that we've experienced. Why aren't we trying to increase that side of the equation of ESSER? And then with whatever money is left, well, then we figure out how to plug the holes with the HVAC. I'm not denying the fact that HVAC isn't needed at the middle school. I'm gonna have 2 kids in the middle school next year, and they're sitting right here with me. I get that there's an importance, but I think we're missing the ball by sending 3/4 of this money to fix HVAC at the middle school. And I also think we should ask parents. I think this is a huge chunk of change that we are making the large scale decisions for voters when they might prefer that money is spent elsewhere and to increase learning loss, increase equity discrepancies. I just don't think we're doing enough academic wise with this ESSER money. And I don't think the failures of the board to act a few years ago, whether it was 2014 or whatever it is you said, I don't understand how that suddenly becomes a problem for academics to be put on the back burner because we fell into this ton of money thanks to the COVID situation. So, I mean, I still need a little bit more of a sales pitch in what we plan to do to address learning loss, way more than what is on this presentation. I think 40,000 here, 40,000 there is just not, it's woefully inadequate.
So just a couple of things. The allocation of the ESSER 3 funds actually does not require board approval. We've accepted the funds for ESSER 1, ESSer 2, ESSer 3.
And I know it doesn't require it, but we can also, we can direct our business administrator to
So
spend it differently, can't we?
You know, what we're talking about here is we have years of deferred maintenance, right? That is putting the air quality of 1,000 kids and however many staff are at the middle school, in, I don't want to say at risk, but we're on borrowed time with the systems that are at the middle school right now, at the intermediate school right now. And yes, past boards perhaps kicked the can down the road because they didn't want to bite off a large chunk of money like this. We're being given the opportunity to repurpose some money from ESSER 2, use ESSER 3 funds, have significant increases in after school, summer, ELL.
I don't think it's significant at all. I don't think it's significant at all.
I didn't interrupt you, so why don't we just let me finish? But we are trying to make a responsible decision. We're trying to make a responsible decision to use one-time funds for a one-time expenditure. And I think that's something that we lose sight of here a lot. Grants like this are one-shots. And what anyone who works on budgets will tell you is you don't use one-shots for ongoing expenses. You use one-shot funds for one-shot expenses. Capital improvements such as the overhaul of a 50-year-old HVAC system is the definition of what you wait for funds like this to come and give you. Unfortunately, it took a global pandemic that's killed millions of people to give us $3.4 million that will partner with other money that we have in capital reserve because of smart decisions that have been made by past boards to put money into capital reserve to finally be able to do this. You will learn as you spend your time on the board. How often we hear from parents and faculty at the intermediate school about concerns about mold, air quality, what's coming out of the vents at the intermediate.
I'm well aware from my
And
time
we're
on the
fine,
board.
well,
as
you're
the sitting
aware, and we
previous.
finally had the opportunity to be able to do that while lessening the burden on the Ocean Township taxpayer to do so, while supplementing and adding to all of these programs that we talked about. We can disagree about where you want to put that slide, but I think it would be an irresponsible decision for us to take one-time money like this and to use it for ongoing expenses and to further kick down the road a major improvement that our district needs. We should have done
But
it, but we didn't.
But we're also missing a major opportunity to use this money on our kids, on their
I would
academic
argue this is
futures.
using it on their kid. This is using it on our
Can I
kids.
just jump in for a second? if I may?
Sure, go ahead.
Just, I think we just can't lose sight of the fact and remember that these are projects that are going to need to be done. And we're going to have to use local funds to use them. By using the grant monies, those other funds over time can be utilized for more academic pursuits. So we will have other funds available to us out of the regular budget. Maybe not $3.4 million, but we will have other funds available to us to be able to do the things that you're talking about. And so I certainly.
But I'm not suggesting, but first of all, hold on, excuse me. I'm not suggesting we nix 3.3 million. Because that doesn't seem like anybody wants to do that anyway, and whatever, if I'm in the minority. I don't understand why we can't increase and look for a little bit less than 3.3 to spend on HVAC.
Because
Why
then we
can't
have
we
to make
tell?
up the difference with
Yeah,
additional
it's
Ocean
all,
Township
it's
taxpayer
kind
money.
of, it's 6.5.
They're
million.
Well, I think
They're
we could,
moving ships around, chairs on the deck, right? I mean, it's not, the pool isn't increasing unless you're going to increase the burden on the Ocean Township taxpayer. If you want to do the HVAC system and do more in the programs that we've talked about, and you want to increase the pie, then that means we're going to go to the taxpayers and say, we need more money. We can't grow the pie unless we go back to the Ocean Township taxpayers and ask for more money. So if we want to deal with the amount of money that we have, both through ESSER, 2 and 3, and what we have in capital reserve, this is what we can do. If you are saying that we should do more on the programming side and still do the HVAC system, that means we have to figure out a way to go back to the taxpayers and say we need more money. There's no way.
I don't think we'd have to do that.
Well, where would the money come from then, Ms. Hayes? I don't understand. Where are you taking it from?
I don't think that we should be able to trim a little bit of some of the things that we're asking for the HVAC upgrades. I'm sorry.
When they go out to
I
RFP,
believe
they're
that we
asking
could be
for
able to
less.
do it.
Well, as I said from the beginning, there's a 3-year
That would be
process.
awesome. We know that.
As we go through the process, we may find that there are some other funds available here, or something may not cost as much as we anticipated, or what have
Right
you.
now, this project is
we can make adjustments.
$4.9 million.
Yeah, 4.9
Okay?
million, right.
So I still have to find money in next year's budget as well as the
Yep.
capital
For capital
reserve.
reserve.
And we
And
only
you have to
have
go out to bid.
$580,000.
You don't know what the bids are going to come back at.
Correct.
Right. We could come
You
back as more or
can't
less.
just do, but I mean, if we decide
Exactly.
that you don't want to do the whole project, then that can be a conversation, but you can't piecemeal. Like, we have to look at this and say, what do you want to fix?
Can I ask a quick
Now,
question? I'm sorry.
I know,
Okay.
and when we were going through this with administration, we looked at what we were prioritizing educationally first.
Yep.
So I didn't hear that there were gaps that we were finding in that. If when we go back to go through this, because we're looking at potentially amending ESSER 2. If there's gaps, then we will have that conversation. And of course, the first thing that we look at is the education pool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the
we have
conversation
to
we had.
amend ESSER too, because.
We can always-
But surely we're not saying we can't find educational gaps, because we have plenty of them.
But remember,
So, I
we
mean,
spend millions of dollars in our regular budget to address those things as well. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
that happens.
That was
every
gonna be
year.
my point, is that
Yes.
we're not only spending $40,000 on summer learning and enrichment. I mean, that barely covers
Right.
the staff.
Right.
So, I mean, I understand your point, Alex, but there's definitely other places in the budget and other places within our regular operating budget that maybe we can cut to give to the summer learning and enrichment, or to the learning gaps.
And Mrs. McGovern, again, I think Dr. Stefanowicz's point was very valid. We want to be able, things that we need educationally, we want to put that in our operating budget
Right.
because it's ongoing expenditures that you need to support the
Absolutely.
district. So
Yeah.
these are the things that we're all thinking about when we're sitting as an administrative team to determine where we're making these investments. So, you know, the advice is one time, because these are, the funds are going to go away.
I mean, it's, first of all, what you said, I can, has some validity to it in the context of, always trying to look at more ways to kind of improve the education for our kids and the environment for our kids, right? And make up some of the time lost. I do think though, this is a management decision, right? It's not, we're not here to manage the school district. So I think we start getting into a slippery slope. If we start saying, can you give us the whole list of things, where you're spending everything? We're making some judgments of, where things should be tailored. We have to some level, when it comes to things like this, there's a collective judgment around the management. Let me finish for a second. Around the management, that unless we think they're, being really governing this the wrong way, then I think we have something to say. It doesn't, I asked Dr. Stefankowitz before, like, what were some of the other projects that he might have been considering that come close to something like this? And there really wasn't one that he came up with. So facility wise, or, yeah, I mean, was there any, if there was something else that you thought might fit into that, I mean, that would be something, but I'm assuming you have a way to kind of tell us.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the grant funds, right? I mean, once again.
But we don't want ongoing
Yeah,
obligations.
what we do
Right.
every day is, and what we do part of the regular operating budget is these are meant to enhance that and supplement that as we move forward, which we'll continue to do.
And I feel like we have a ton of consulting engagements going on and a lot of professional development that we're investing in.
And I mean,
So-
I know this sounds a little bit weird, but honestly, like, one of the things that we do hear also from our staff is that they're almost professional development overload a little bit.
Yeah.
And we hear that, there's so much.
There's a low diminishing returns. that you
Yeah,
get from that.
exactly.
Right.
There's so much
Exactly.
that's going on, along with just the pressures of every day, just trying to teach the kids through a continued pandemic situation. It's overwhelming and it can be overwhelming. And so we have to manage that as well and spread those things out over time. And, if people aren't feeling that they can handle more of that, more, it actually, right, it becomes counterproductive. So we have to balance that.
Every time I come up with, my arguments for why I think we should do something different, either, Jeff or Janice, you guys say, well, we're not supposed to manage, the folks who are supposed to know this. I get that. But you know what? We're also supposed to, as a board, be in charge of making sure the money is managed correctly. So I think whenever you guys try to throw that out there, it is trying to minimize other board members' opinions. And I'm clearly not swaying you guys. That's fine. I think that we are not looking at the greater picture of need for our students academically and learning loss. That's all I'm saying. And I think I do not agree with us doing the $3+ million on HVAC when more things are more important. So, and I'm certainly, as an elected official, entitled to disagree with how management is saying, this is where we should spend our $4 million. So that's fine. I disagree. And so I'll hand it to anybody else. has any
Well, first of all, when you called me out on that, I just want to say, I think I digest these as well. And my go-to is not that that they're supposed to manage the budget. And I think that I'm as critically looking at what's going on as anybody else should be, right? And if not more so. But I think that there is some line on some items that gets drawn. And for me, this is one of those items. I don't think it's on every item. And I think I've had my fair amount of challenges over the years with everybody. So I appreciate your perspective on it. I was just giving you my perspective on it. I'm not telling you to agree with it or not agree with it. I'm just telling you my perspective on this one. It feels like that it's a reasonable deduction on how to use the money, considering the things that we've experienced in the past at that building, the ongoing obligation that this doesn't present an ongoing obligation for us. It fixes something fundamental to the district. And at the end of the day, this grant was something that we did approve. And I'm assuming that Dr. Stefankowitz met with his team and figured out the right priorities on how to spend this.
Right.
And
Because
it-
essentially what we'd be saying then is that everyone else decided not to prioritize
Yeah.
things that the students needed for an HVAC system. I think they've came up with what they see as a reasonable and logical balance that spends the funds how they can be spent. So I wouldn't want to draw into question whether or not anyone was sacrificing benefits that could be going to the students for something else.
I mean, of course, and, you know. it's
Let's
like-
move on.
That's good. Other
Sure.
questions, you good? Or-
I think we're good.
Just one other quick update, aside from that, is we did, and last week when we met, we were about to start our staff testing program. We have started our staff testing program for COVID, started last week. I think it went okay. I think we would all agree, we would prefer not to be in the COVID testing business at all. But we are, it's what exists. All the staff that, needed to be tested last week were tested. The one thing that is very frustrating though, is that we do not have a set weekly time by school, which is very frustrating and very difficult for the administrators to just kind of plan. As a matter of fact, one of our schools that was scheduled last week was not scheduled for this week. Any update on that? No. So we'll have to shift those individuals to different schools to be tested this week. One school that wasn't tested last week does have a schedule for this week. So it's still a work in progress, but it has started. And we'll continue to do the best we can with that. But we look forward to the day when all of these things will no longer be necessary.
Anything else on your list tonight?
I think that is everything on my list tonight, unless you have something to remind me of,
No,
in addition to
in
the
addition
COVID
to-
testing.
no,
update.
no.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Dr. Stankwitz. Ms. Truba?
I have nothing other than what I shared in the work session.
All right, thank you, Ms. Truba.
Can I just say before Mr. Rosman's leaves, if he leaves at some point, thank you so much for fixing the clock in this room, whether it was you or somebody on your
It
staff.
just needs a battery.
I understand
I'm
that.
actually hoping it was wrong.
But get it. But whoever, listen, a battery is a battery, but I just wanted to
Here
say
was the
thank you.
process. I called John. John said, John, we need a battery in the clock. John said, okay, we'll take care of it.
I know,
Boom.
right, exactly. So I'm thanking him. It's the little things that make me
It's
happy,
the little
John.
things, the little things.
Thanks, Mr.
So,
Doc. Thank you, Mr.
I
Brown.
have a question for Dr. Stefankowitz. Are we putting flyers in, as we discussed last week, for the vaccination clinic on 2 days? In kids back?
We decided not to do that. We are gonna be doing a call tomorrow and a text.
I
like we
got the
did
call already.
For vaccination.
Yeah.
No, you got the call
No,
for
that's
We got it
the,
for the social
No, I
media.
didn't know for vaccination.
It wasn't from us.
Wasn't
Wasn't from us.
from the county then.
Yeah, we talked with the principals about it. We felt the more effective way to go would be with the call and with the text alert tomorrow.
That must have been from the county.
Okay, and are we also by any chance checking to see our open rates on some of these, like for the vaccination e-blast that you send out?
You were gonna check the analytics on the emails.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I had Mary Ann check what we did last week. Last week, she's putting a full report together that I may have for
Oh,
our
great.
meeting on Friday, Alex. But for example, last Friday's letter of my letter that went out had 2,234 opens, not just got it, but opens, which was far more than any of the Facebook.
But out of how many sent? 3,000 or 8,000?
No, we don't have,
That
not
matter.
everybody is signed up, so probably, probably, somewhere in the upper twos to close to 3.
That's an incredible open
I
rate.
think
to
so.
be
I think it's
honest.
pretty good.
I even read it.
Did you read it? Did you read it?
I did. I actually was gonna comment earlier that I was impressed by your last paragraph.
Oh, well, thank you.
But
I
I
was
didn't-
inspired by our administrators who are getting the living daylights beat out of them by people and our nurses. who are
I will
taking
say that I did
the
have a
brunt of
friend, I
things.
did have a friend call me and tell me that she called after talking to the nurse, not in a bad way, just talking to the nurse, that she did follow up with a phone call to the front office because she could tell that our nurses are taxed. And just to say,
Yeah.
somebody should walk down there and,
Well, look, we understand that it's a
It's-
frustrating thing to get a phone
Yeah.
call that says your kid has to quarantine. Like, we completely
Correct.
understand that. But, we're doing our jobs and we have to do what we have to do to try to keep everybody safe. And, our nurses are doing an amazing job right now. They are taxed to serious limits, and our administrators as well. So we get it's frustrating. We just ask that when we call you, try not to get the messenger, we
no, I know.
appreciate it.
but I appreciated that because I felt like the people in the front office don't necessarily know how crazy the life is in that office at a moment, all the time, so.
It's true.
All right, moving on to public comment. The following are a series of motions to be read by the committee chairpersons. All motions have been discussed at a recent public work session. Some motions have been approved at a public work session, and the minutes for the approved items are posted on the district website. At this point in the meeting, we will now conduct the first of 2 public comment sessions. The first session will be open for public comments on agenda items only. The second session will be at the end of the meeting and can be on any topic. Would anyone from the public like to comment on any agenda item at this time? As a reminder, if you're joining us via Zoom, please send a message to the help desk. Is there anyone in the auditorium who would like to make a comment or ask a question? No. Seeing none, Ms. Conway, is there anyone at home?
Madam President, no, there are no commenters.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, approval of minutes, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. Move to approve the meeting minutes in accordance with the Board of Education bylaws number 0168, recording of board meetings for the work meeting and executive session meeting held on November 9, 2021. Can I get a second?
Second.
Anybody have any comments? Hey, Tina.
Okay, Mrs. Beal.
Yeah.
Ms. Gilman,
Yes,
Ms. Hayes. Ms. Hayes?
Sorry, I unmute. Yes.
Okay, okay. I didn't know if you couldn't hear me. Ms. McGovern?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Ms. Delarico?
Yes.
Ms. Tortorella?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you, Mr. Weinstein. Financial management and resource services, Mrs. Tortorella.
Thank you, Mrs. Fuller. I have 15 items for approval this evening. 6.1. Move to approve the following resolution, which certifies that budget balances at the end of October 21 were adequate to pay all remaining obligations of the 21-22 school year, and that account groupings required by the state have adequate balances. The board is also certifying that the independent reports of the treasurer and the business office are in agreement as per the below and attached. 6.2. Move for approval of the attached resolution dated October 2021, covering appropriation transfers in the 21-22 General Fund 10. Said transfers shall result in no change in the total original appropriations. 6.3, move for the approval of the following paid items as listed below and attached. 6.4, move to approve the use of facilities as per the attached memo dated November 16th, 2021. 6.5, move to approve the following security drills for the month of October 21 as listed below. 6.6, move to approve the 21-22 service agreement with AccuScan to sort through records for disposition versus retention and to submit records for disposition via Artemis, New Jersey State's Records Retention and Disposition Management System as per the attached. 6.7, move to approve the 2022-23 budget calendar as per the attached. 6.8, move to approve the acceptance of a $2,000 grant from the 2021 Sustainable Jersey for Schools grant funded by the PSE&G Foundation for the Township of Ocean Intermediate School. 6.9, move to approve the Township of Ocean School District in a transportation jointure agreement with West Long Branch Board of Ed with the Township of Ocean Board of Ed to act as host as per the below. 6.10, move to approve the Township of Ocean School District in a transportation jointure agreement with Monmouth Regional Board of Ed with the Township of Ocean Board of Ed to act as host as per the below. 6.11, move to approve the Township of Ocean School District in a transportation jointure agreement with Eatontown Board of Ed with the Township of Ocean Board of Ed to act as host as per the below. 6.12, move to approve the Township of Ocean District in a the Township of Ocean School District in a transportation jointure agreement with Long Branch Board of Ed with the Township of Ocean Board of Ed to act as host as per the below. 6.13, move to approve the donation of Companion Libraries vintage collection of 13 classic children's books valued at approximately $300 by Amy Ushak in memory of her grandmother Bernadette Cleary Ushak. The book collection will be donated to the Township of Ocean Intermediate School Library. You can see a photo attached of the books. 6.14, move to accept the donation of individually packaged meals to the staff of the Township of Ocean School District funded by the Sustain and Serve New Jersey program, which is overseen by the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. And 6.15, move to approve the Transportation Cooperative with MOESC as lead agency utilizing E&B Trans LLC, Jay's Bus Service, Philip Hader Trans, Seashore Day, and Sementov for the non-public and special education school routes in accordance with the attached schedule. May I have a second?
Second.
Any questions before we take a vote on anything? Okay.
The use of
Ms. Gilman?
facilities. The use of facilities, the Chamber of Commerce is coming back. Are we back to full on anybody who applies to use our facilities in any of the buildings?
I think we're still,
But,
we're looking
yes, we
generally
are.
case by case, but
Yeah.
this is an existing use because they're here
Right,
already. But I mean,
yeah.
for
Right, I
any
know
of the
they're
holiday
here,
parties.
but
Yeah, we're still looking at what it is they're asking.
it is
the
they're
scope of
Exactly.
everything.
Do they have the insurance, everything that we
Yeah,
need?
but also the
Correct.
size, I mean,
Yep.
obviously, if it's out, the indoor things.
Yep,
so we're not back to 100%.
Oh, no.
Okay.
If they're already a tenant, do we even have to have something like the Chamber of Commerce even on the agenda? If they're already a tenant of ours that we give a discount to or whatever, like,
This is for their use of the auditorium for a special purpose. So
Right.
when they're utilizing the building
realize,
for a special,
yeah.
well, the answer to your question is when they're utilizing the building for a different purpose other than the typical use of the office, then we do approve it. When they have functions here, we approve it separately.
Anything else?
Mr.
Yes.
Ms. Trueba, or Truba, I'm like stepping over my own tongue here. Regarding the budget calendar, in the email I sent yesterday, I believe it was, are some of those budget calendar dates where administrators are sending in things to either your office or Dr. Svankwit's office. Is the board able to be privy to some of those requests, or what are they, spreadsheets or what? How open is this? Are these budget documents that everyone is sending in? Is this something that the Board of Ed can have access to?
Yeah, I mean, basically, what I am doing is I have not really changed the process from last year. So pretty much the beginning of December, all the budget spreadsheets went out to everybody, all the administrators and all the departments. The beginning of December, Kelly and I are working through setting up meetings with everybody to meet with them on their priorities. After that is done, there is a further meeting with all of the principals to look at what they have as well. We will have those documents, and at some point in time, we'll be pulling the board in to take a look at what we prioritize.
Yeah, we bring that all to the board,
Yep.
usually by around the end of January, beginning of
But
February.
it's with our priorities in
Correct.
place.
Correct.
I mean, of course, there's going to be certain decisions along the way, Ms. Hayes, that I think the administration is going to be making in terms of what they want to prioritize in the operating budget.
Correct.
Mhm.
Most things that are in those, many of the things stay on that eventually makes it to the board unless it's just something that, we really, can't fund, whether it doesn't make sense educationally or just financially or whatever it may be. But the overwhelming majority of those things make it to what goes in front of the board with typically a list of priorities. Is it a 1 priority, 2 priority, 3 priority? And then that's worked through as the board decides, because a lot of things depend on, are we at 2%? Are we at 1.5%?
exactly.
Are we willing to use bank cap?
Right.
Are we at 1 point, are we at 3.9%? Some of that is dictated by where the board wants to be in terms of, what the increase to the tax levy, if any, is going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I did ask this last week, and I think pretty much we all said the same thing. So I just was not here on the board last December. So I just wanted to clarify, what December processes, would I or any other board member be entitled to see some of the documentation?
December is really administrative,
It's internal.
yeah, it's the it's where we're gathering, all the information and.
I
it
realize.
wouldn't- Yeah, it wouldn't be really till probably into late January, early.
I mean,
early February.
if there's a big project that we can't fund, of course, we would bring that to the board.
Well, we're gonna
Especially if
bring
it
it-
would be taking us above a 2% cap.
Yeah, well, we're
or,
gonna, all of that's gonna come. to the board.
It'll absolutely come out. And what my department did prior to sending out the spreadsheets to everybody internally is we literally looked at what we're spending this year so that there's a comparative, so people understand what their current operating budget projections look like now.
And then usually what we focus on are those things that are new. I mean, we're not gonna go through every paperclip, right? We've talked
Right.
about that many
They
times.
get a budget, yeah.
Everybody gets a certain budget to do those things. What we tend to focus on in the budget are new things to the budget, things that may be adding to the budget, what may be coming off, coming out of the budget, changes from what was in the regular operating budget from the year before.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Gilman,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Ms. Palamas?
Yes.
Mr. Delarico,
Yes.
Tortorella,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Ms. Fuller,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Tortorella. Instruction, education, student activities and skills.
Thank you. There are 6 items for our consideration. 7.1 internship. Move to approve internships for 2021-2022 school year in accordance with the attached memorandum dated November 11th, 2021. 7.2 professional development staff. Move to approve the attached memorandum dated November 11th, 2021, RE staff professional development activities in accordance with District Policy 6471 and NJAC 6A:23A-7. The attendance at said activities is fiscally prudent and will promote the delivery of instruction and/or further the efficient operation of the district. Reimbursement for travel and related expenses shall be according to the Department of the Treasury guidelines and NJOMB Circular 06-02 and A-87. 7.3, revision to the 2021-2022 school calendar for teachers and students. Move to approve the revision to 2021-2022 school calendar for teachers and students. Copy of the revised calendar is attached. Revision includes designating December 23rd, 2021 as an early dismissal day. 7.4, revision to said calendar for 2021-2022 school year for 10 and 12-month employees. Move to approve a revision to the 2021-2022 work calendar for the following employees. Revision includes designating December 23rd, 2021 as an early dismissal day for job categories indicated on the calendars under the month of December only. Copies of the revised calendar are attached, 10-month employees and 12-month employees. 7.5, out-of-school suspension report. Move to affirm the out-of-school suspension report for the month of October 2021. And 7.6 HIB, move to affirm the following harassment, intimidation, and bullying incident summary report for 2021-2022 school year. The report was previously provided to the board by the superintendent of schools. The board has reviewed the report and affirms the superintendent's report, HIB report number 6, November 9th, 2021.
Second.
I'm sorry, you said that. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
Did I make a motion?
Those are all motions.
When
you say move,
every time
it's a move,
And then it's-
As you read it, you move it.
I read it, I'm moving.
Any questions? Okay, Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Gilman.
Yes.
Ms. Hayes.
Ms.
I think
Hayes?
I think you're on mute, Ms. Hayes.
Sorry, it's irritating. Sorry to hold you up. I'm gonna yes for everything, but the HIB I wasn't in executive session for, so I'm going to, what is
It
it,
was
abstain?
This wasn't a new HIB from this executive session. This was from last.
If it was all from last time, okay, then.
Yeah, there was
then
no
yes.
new HIB.
So yes to everything?
Yes, to everything. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. McGovern?
Yes.
Ms. Palamas?
Yes.
Ms. Delarico?
Yes.
Ms. Tortorella?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
I'm gonna have to say yes to 7.2 to 7.6 and recuse myself from 7.1.
7+1. Okay, Ms. Fuller?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Gilman.
You're welcome.
Moving on to personnel,
never mind.
Ms. Karlamas.
Yes, I have 15 motions this evening. First, I'd like to move to approve the retirement of James Sainer, groundkeeper, maintenance and grounds department, effective December 1st, 2021. 8.2. This says, discuss revisions to the following job descriptions as listed below,
But you're moving it.
but we're moving it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it should read, will motion to move
Mhm.
the revision to the following job descriptions as listed
Yes,
below.
yes.
8.3, just for the public to know, this should read Title 9, not Title 4. So move to approve Christine Fogler as the district's Title 9 coordinator for the upcoming school year. 8.4, move to approve an unpaid family leave of absence as designated under NJFLA for Eileen Theodore, occupational therapist at the intermediate school, beginning at the conclusion of her eligible sick leave, which is approximately February 7th through April 6th. 8.5, move to approve the following teachers to work the Spartans Leading the Way program at the intermediate school. 8.6, move to approve the following substitute teachers to work the Spartans Leading the Way program at the intermediate school. 8.7, move to approve Courtney Williams, an instructional assistant to shadow a high school student to indoor track events, practice and meets Monday through Thursdays, 2 p.m. to approximately 4:45 p.m. during the period of December 1st through February 1st. 8.8, move to approve Ann Gruner, an instructional assistant to shadow a high school student to indoor track events where she will assist a student with assistant manager duties. 8.9, move to approve volunteer winter track coaches as listed below. 8.10, move to approve the revised salaries for non-athletic advisors for the upcoming school year, dated November 11th, 2021. 8.11, move to approve Alexander De Leonardo as a substitute bus driver. 8.12, move to approve substitute teachers as listed below. 8.13, move to approve revisions to supervisory responsibilities for the upcoming school year as listed below. 8.14, move to approve that revised contracts be issued to the following people as listed below. And 8.15, move to approve that contracts be issued to the following people as listed below. Can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Truba?
Yes. 1 second. Ms. Beal?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman?
Yes.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern?
Yes.
Ms. Flormus?
Yes.
Ms. Delarico?
Yes.
Ms. Tortorella?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And let me just take a moment to be the first to congratulate Dr. Pankina, who's here with us tonight. Congratulations. We're very excited for you to be taking on this role and thanks for being here tonight. Oh, if there's anything you want to add.
That was pretty much it. No, well, we own you now and, you know, kiss your wife and kids goodbye tomorrow and you'll see him in about 3 or 4 months. You know?
Thank you very much.
He knows I'm right.
See Ms. Trump coming on here, so I'm just hearing that.
It's all
All
right.
right.
She knows I'm right too.
Fair one. Thank you, Ms. Karlamas. Moving on policy, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. Move to approve the following revisions to the following policies and regulations as listed below. Can I get a second?
Second.
Anything anybody wants to add or talk about? Okay, I think we're good.
Yes, I'm sorry, who did the second? I
Good,
apologize.
Natalie.
Excuse me?
Natalie.
Ms. Tortorella.
Thank you. Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Skillman,
Yes,
Ms. Hayes. Ms. Hayes, okay,
Sorry, yes.
okay, Ms. McGovern.
Yes.
Ms. Prolamus.
Yes.
Ms. Telerico,
Yes.
Ms. Torriello,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein.
Yes,
Ms. Fuller,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
sure thing.
Public relations, Ms. Tellerico, here you are, Ms. Tellerico, thank you.
Thank you. There's one item for discussion tonight, 10.1. The Board of Education Administration will discuss the preliminary results of the annual school election held on November 2nd, 2021. The unofficial results of the election pending certification from the Monmouth County Board of Elections are as follows. Do you want me to read the public content?
No, they're not even accurate.
They're not right yet.
I think these have actually been adjusted.
Yeah, they were
upwards.
adjusted later today by a few votes, so we'll have to make, when they've made official, we'll put them back on, but
When they're
it's,
certified.
yeah, it did not change the outcome.
Right, so I will again congratulate Ms. Perlamus and Ms. Gilman on their reelection.
you.
And congratulate Mr. McCarthy, who will soon be taking a seat up here. Three meetings. All right, thank you, Ms. Talerico. She was counting. Moving on to old business. Is there any old business from the board?
yes, I just wanted to make a comment about the instructional council meeting that I attended. I know that the minutes were presented, but the minutes didn't really convey the tone of stress that I got from the teachers who were overwhelmed with the new planning system. And I really congratulate you, Ms. Weldon, for dispelling a lot of the confusion and misinformation that they had about how this new planning system was working. Their expectations were that it had to be, X, Y, and Z, and you said there was more flexibility. But I really did get the notion that between the planning, the SGOs, the standardized testing, students coming in who hadn't been in school for a while, that stress levels are high. And for all buildings, the enforcement of mask wearing is definitely an issue. And so I think that all we can do to continue to use the ESSER funds for the benefit of our staff and students in alleviating some of the stress and anxiety from this year, I think is a good thing.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Any other old business from the board?
I have two things
question.
about,
Ms. Talerico?
Mine's just real quick. During the presentation, the first presentation that ESS had put on, I want to say it was over a month ago, I had asked if it was going to be recorded and, so that other parents that weren't able to come on to that meeting could view it at a later time. Do you know if any of that had transpired or happened and if it's coming?
Yeah, I think Jen, did they record that?
They didn't record the one that night, but from my understanding, they did record another one that the woman had said, another presentation on that same topic.
The one that was done, I'm sorry, yeah, the one that was done for staff was recorded. I know that, but Jen, can you address that?
She did not record the parent one. The staff ones are recorded.
Ms. Talerico, which was your question? I'm sorry, the parent one or the staff one? For both.
Here, because there was only 23, I believe 23 people on that night. So my understanding was that we were going to record it so that other parents that couldn't make it that night, because I remember asking about that prior to the presentation. So for the next presentation, are we going to be able to get that recorded so that parents can see it? That can't make it to the training that night.
We can certainly request that.
Yeah, as long as it's something within their scope that they don't mind having, I mean, it's their product, so if they don't mind having it out there, then, we can certainly do that.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding because it was an introduction to trauma and most of what they presented, was not proprietary.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I'm asking.
I don't foresee it's a problem, but obviously I don't want to make that assumption until we just ask them.
Do we have a date for the next training?
I
Or the
think it's in
presentation
January,
or
Jen?
something?
Isn't it
It is in
January?
January, correct.
Yeah, I don't remember the
Last
exact
time they
date.
said they would not allow it to be recorded.
The last,
Said that was part of their arrangement. They were not allowed to be
they
recorded.
they said
And
they
out on
would.
the internet, and shared on the internet.
And shared on the internet.
So
So that's
Ms.
intellectual
Walden is
property.
here in the room, and she mentioned that they did say at one of the sessions that they do not allow their seminars to be, or presentations to be recorded and then put out. To the
Well,
public.
I think
So
the
maybe
issue
we
is
can
making
try-
it to the general public, like on the
Right.
internet for people to be able to.
Because it's a paid service.
Because it's a
Right.
paid service,
Right,
right?
but-
So maybe we can talk with them about being able to record it, and then maybe we could have another night where we can invite perhaps folks in to watch it if they couldn't make the first one, something like that.
scheduled
We, right. so-
Airing.
Right, because if
Lisa
we
and
control it, then I think it's allowable. Having it out there for the public, that's what I mean. If we don't, it's their it's not that it's right, earth shattering information that they own, but it's the service they're providing. So obviously, if that's out for the general public, people could grab that and start using
So
it.
maybe we
on
could
their own.
broadcast it again.
Correct,
or-
yes,
Okay, so can you get back to, so we can get back to
Yes.
Ms. Talarico?
Yes.
Right, because I do understand that piece of it, but the district paid a lot of money for this and 23 people were the only ones that were able to see it. So, thank you.
And then Ms. Hayes?
Two questions. One of them actually was along the lines of ESS. They have that free parent, monthly newsletter, and we were supposed to start seeing that. So do we know when it's going to start going home to parents?
Ms. Zona?
Yeah, I know we talked with them about it. Yeah,
We haven't gotten a recent newsletter from them.
but we can get it out when it comes, yeah.
We got that original one, Dr. Stefankowitz, and then we have not gotten a recent one since then.
We've sent one out so far this school year.
Yeah, I think so.
They probably do it quarterly.
I don't think we,
I don't.
I didn't think we sent any down, any out
Right, well,
yet
we
for
can check with
ESS.
Ms. Zona, am I correct that there was one that went out so far this school year?
Yes,
Because I did see one that came out. I don't know if
thought
it
we
was.
did.
right.
online
There
or-
has not been another one since then.
So perhaps it's quarterly that they issue it. But I know I've seen one.
I can certainly check with them.
Thank you, Ms. Zona.
Sure.
Okay, and my second question is, what was the status of the preschool funding application? Wasn't it due yesterday? I'm assuming, some of the errors were rectified, but also, can you update us on the status of that application?
Yeah, it was submitted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
we-
the errors were
Yeah, we made,
corrected.
any changes we needed to
Yep.
make were made, and then we submitted that.
And we did it on the 15th
Great, thank you.
with the certified resolution
Any
that we
other new
approved. it.
business from the board?
I have one more question.
Ms. Talarico?
So I was wondering if a parent would like to know an accounting of a fundraising for sport, what would be the process to go to get that?
Contact the coach and or the athletic director,
Mr. Tom?
Mr. Tom.
And that would be sent out to the whole team or just for?
I think, we just have to talk to the athletic director as to what it is and what the purpose is. I mean, I would think, obviously a coach. And when you say an accounting, you're talking about what came in, what the money was used for, that kind of thing?
Well, there was a large sum of money that came in for the soccer team for the girls. And there have been many parents that have asked where the money went to. It was over $8,000.
They could Oprah into my office and then I can coordinate it with the coach and get the information out.
Yeah, I mean, but
You know, that would
yes,
probably be the best way
ultimately,
to do it.
I think, once again, we're trying to follow the chain, speaking with the coaches, speaking with the athletic director, for some reason. I mean, more than likely what that, and ultimately is gonna go through the business office to get some of
Absolutely. I
that.
think it's
At
the
high school
easiest, yeah.
level, they probably even have that accounting, potentially right there at the high school. So I think the best way to approach that is just, go to the coach. I mean, obviously, if it's a parent fundraiser, the parents should certainly have an idea of what the fundraiser was for and what the money was going toward. And, yeah, I mean, and so the coach and athletic director are the first place to start.
Okay, thank you.
I have two more questions. I'm sorry. Did I miss in the beginning of the meeting, enrollment presentation?
No.
Will we be
The
getting
enrollments,
the?
the enrollments are included, just for your information. We typically we don't discuss them.
Will we be getting the enrollment for special ed numbers now that the state, we had to submit to the state in October? So can we get a reporting of that perhaps at the next meeting?
Sure.
Yeah, the
Okay,
submission to
and
the
then-
state, the submission to the state for all the ASSA numbers is December 3rd. So we're rolling everything up now from the October 15th snapshot.
Because October 15th is like when you have to take it, I guess.
Correct. And then what you do is
Okay.
you work across the different districts that you send and receive with. So it's a reiterative process and we have to have final submissions in by December 3rd.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so we'll probably hear those numbers in December. is probably-
Correct.
But we don't usually get those numbers, do we?
We did last.
I mean, I know they're public.
There have
When the
been-
board asks.
In the last couple, at least last year, the board asked for comparisons.
I
on
was just
special ed
making sure,
numbers.
Yeah, that's important because it does impact your state aid.
Yeah.
So if you see
Mm-hmm.
it significantly different than, up or down, it is an indicator.
Gotcha. And I'm sorry if I missed this. Did you go over some of the COVID numbers in the beginning? And perhaps it was in your work session, so I apologize. What was it? The middle school kind of surpassed the high school there for a little bit. How are we doing since your Friday letter?
Compared to last week, Monday, Tuesday of last week was far more significant coming off of the long weekend than what we saw yesterday and today. However, there were, certainly a few cases there and some things pending. I think we can see statewide, that we're seeing some increases. I want to say, I think I read today it was 30% increase from last week and the average, the 7-day average for the state. Hospitalizations up a little bit, so I don't know if we're seeing a little bit of a post-Halloween trend. I think it's a little too early to say within this week how this week's going to compare to last week. Last week was definitely a heavy week. The early part of the week was heavier coming off of the 4-day weekend in terms of activity than the latter part of the week, but it was still a heavy week nonetheless. So far compared to last week, it's lighter than last week, but I'm always reluctant to make any kind of predictions as it relates to COVID cases.
We don't want to jinx it. All right, thank you.
All right, seeing no other new business, we'll move to our second public comment session. Would anyone from the public like to comment on any item at this time, either here in the auditorium or Ms. Conway, is there anyone in the queue from home?
No, Madam President, there are no commenters.
All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Second. See you in 2 weeks.